Welcome to the deep dive. So you sent us a source stack today that is completely unique. It's not a pile of white papers or reports.
Yeah.
It's a single, meticulously curated playlist. The Chuxmas Mix 2024, and it's just wall-to-wall with classic holiday jams.
And it looks, on the surface like just some wonderful background music for decorating a tree.
Right.
But what we really have here is a kind of hidden archaeological map. Our mission today is to dig into this specific track list and, well, extract this surprisingly deep musical history, the social context, and the cultural shifts these songs document.
That's it, exactly. We're treating this mix less like a playlist and more like a time capsule. I mean, if you just look at the names and the dates, this collection is a cross-section of mid-20th century American music.
Perfect cross-section.
It moves from jump blues and cool jazz all the way into like the vulnerable depths of stack soul and doo-wop. We're going to see how this sequence of sounds really came to define the modern holiday experience.
It's a remarkable journey, and what's interesting is how it begins. The first section of the mix, it really establishes this mood of mid-century affluence and sophistication.
The polished sound.
The polished sound of big band and instrumental, yeah.
Okay, let's unpack that opening segment.
Yeah.
It starts with this real elegance. You get the smooth vocals of Joe Williams, Winter Weather, and the sheer control in Julie London's I'd Like You for Christmas.
Oh, absolutely.
That sound is so refined, almost cinematic.
It is. And if we're looking for the absolute definition of that polished sound, we have to land on Peggy Lee's 1959 recording of Winter Wonderland.
Okay.
The trivia notes even highlight this. It's not just another version. It's a masterclass in mid-century swing.
So why this particular recording? Why is the Peggy Lee version considered, the benchmark for that style?
It's all about the arrangement. I mean, this wasn't some quick recording session. It features the legendary Billy May and his orchestra.
The Billy May Orchestra, right?
And May's orchestration pretty much defined the sound of that era. It's plush, it's rich, a little mischievous even.
His use of muted brass and those sweeping strings, it just seems to perfectly complement her cool vocal style.
It does. She doesn't have to push her voice at all. She's just controlled, understated, and the music carries all the emotion. It is the epitome of class and really post-war confidence.
That makes so much sense. It's that sound you see in glossy magazine ads from the 50s. Everything is tailored and sharp.
Exactly.
And right alongside that, the mix shifts into an instrumental piece that has a similar feel, but from a completely different arrangement.
Yeah.
Ramsey Lewis's take on Snowfall.
And this is a perfect example of how that cool sound transitioned into the jazz trio format. Snowfall was originally this grand orchestral standard by Claude Thornhill.
A huge piece.
Huge. But the Lewis version strips it all down. It's famous for its cool jazz trio arrangement.
So how does that trio arrangement change the mood compared to, say, the big band version?
Well, it creates intimacy. Where the orchestra is sweeping and, grand, the trio just piano, bass, and drums is hushed.
It's quiet.
The arrangement literally captures that visual sense of silence, the quiet of falling snow. The source material points this out. It makes the listener line in.
So it's taking the experience from a big ballroom spectacle to something much more
personal, like something you'd hear in a dimly lit, sophisticated club.
Okay, so we start with this layered polish of big bands, the intimacy of cool jazz.
Yeah.
But then, maybe 4 tracks in, the mix just shifts dramatically. The energy changes.
It really does.
We're moving from like silk suits to leather jackets. We hit the raw, driving rhythm of jump blues.
Exactly. We move from sophistication to propulsion. This section has these foundational R&B and blues tracks that are basically showing us the building blocks of early rock and roll.
All through a holiday lens.
Right. You see it with Ella Fitzgerald's Good Morning Blues and Little Willie Littlefield's Merry Xmas.
And what really anchors this whole section, what the trivia highlights as a key pivot point, is Mabel Scott's 1948 hit, Boogie Woogie Santa Claus. That track is just pure, unadulterated energy.
Oh, it is. And that song is identified as a crucial bridge between big band jazz and early rock and roll. If you listen, you can actually hear that shift happening.
How so?
Well, big band was complex, often slower, designed for very structured dances. Jump blues, where Scott was an absolute powerhouse, was smaller, faster and way more stripped down. It was made for dancing with this immediate driving energy.
So how specifically do we hear that in the track? It's not just that the tempo speeds up, is it?
No, it's the instrumentation and the attitude. The
Mhm.
rhythms are heavily, heavily emphasized. That boogie-woogie piano driving the beat, which, becomes a staple of rock and roll.
And the sax solo.
And crucially, the track features Maxwell Davis on tenor sax. Davis basically defined the West Coast jump sound. His solo isn't just decoration, it's raucous, it's bluesy, and it is right up front.
It gives it that raw edge.
It gives it that raw, unpolished edge that just separates jump blues from earlier swing. It's a foundational R&B document.
And that distinction is so clear when you hear the tracks back to back. Okay, so that driving rhythm is the engine room of the mix. Then, moving forward a few years from jump blues, we hit another foundational holiday sound. Doo-wop?
Right. The Moonglows' Hey Santa Claus from 1953
Yes.
and doo-wop brought a very specific flavor to the table harmony, a kind of street corner charm that was just incredibly popular with young audiences.
It lent itself perfectly to novelty holiday songs, didn't it? Because of that sweetness and the group dynamic.
It did. And what's interesting about the Moonglows, specifically that song, is its unexpected second life in pop culture.
You mean beyond its historical significance?
Exactly. The trivia points out its prominence in the 1989 film National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Of course. That's where I know it from.
And that connection is so important. It proves how resilient these vintage sounds are. A whole new generation heard that specific 1953 doo-wop sound, not from the radio, but from a modern comedy classic. It just ties it directly into our pop culture memory.
It's the sound of the holidays getting a little rowdier, moving away from that old, polished formality. This section also has other tracks that kind of reflect that evolving entertainment landscape.
Like Mr. Santa's Boogie by the Marshall Brothers.
And the Wayne Newton version of Jingle Bell Rock.
The Wayne Newton inclusion is really revealing about cultural adaptation. Most people know the Bobby Helms original from '57.
The classic rockabilly version.
Exactly, that early rockabilly feel. Newton's version, though, is from the mid-'60s, and it's been totally reshaped to reflect the high-polish Las Vegas glitz that became his whole thing.
So it swaps that rough charm.
For a spectacular, brassy arrangement. It shows how even holiday standards were being quickly repackaged to match the evolving sounds of pop spectacle and, the growing dominance of Vegas.
A fascinating insight into how quickly musical styles were monetized in the post-war boom.
Absolutely. Music moving from a grassroots thing into high-end entertainment.
Okay, so we've gone from cool swing to jump blues and doo-wop charm. Now the mix shifts gears completely. We move into a part that addresses something much deeper than just holiday cheer. We're getting into deep soul.
This is a major structural shift in the mix. The feeling is totally different. We're transitioning from the external spectacle of the holidays, the parties, the snow, the gifts, to an internal emotional reality.
These are the tracks that infuse the season with real social and personal weight.
Yes.
And when we talk about deep soul in this context, nothing exemplifies that better than William Bell's 1967 Stax track, Every Day Will Be Like a Holiday.
Quintessential Stax. But the backstory of this song, it just elevates it beyond a great R&B performance.
The story is incredibly profound.
It is. Bell wrote it after seeing a soldier return home from Vietnam, and you have to think about the social climate of 1967.
Yeah.
Deep division, the war casting this huge shadow over everything. The realization Bell had, which he poured into the song, was that the essence of Christmas or a holiday isn't a date on the calendar. It isn't the decorations.
It's the raw relief of reunion. That's what it is.
Precisely. It's simply the profound feeling of being reunited with loved ones after a long, terrifying separation. Bell essentially reframes the whole idea of a holiday from a commercial event into an emotional state of grace.
And that emotional weight, that honesty, that's the core of deep soul.
That's why the track is so moving. Yes.
It grounds the entire mix in something so much more profound than just seasonal merriment. And speaking of unexpected vulnerability, the mix includes a track from the godfather of soul himself, James Brown.
Yeah, that shows a side of him that many people don't really know. They just think of the architect of funk.
Exactly. We're talking about It's Christmas Time from his 1966 album. You think of James Brown, you think high-energy funk, screaming vocals, relentless rhythm.
A massive horn section. That's his brand.
But this track is the complete opposite.
It is. This specific recording is a rare, vulnerable, and gospel-infused ballad. The intensity is still there, but it's channeled into reverence instead of rhythm.
It shows his depth as an artist, outside of the funk machine he usually commanded.
It proves he could step back and connect the music to its spiritual roots. It feels like an acknowledgement that even within the most commercialized pop music, the foundation, especially at that time, was often still gospel.
So if we look at the big picture, the mix has now gone from capturing post-war optimism, the swing, the jump blues, to actively addressing the internal emotional climate of the late 60s.
And using Christmas music as the vehicle to convey serious, non-frivolous feeling.
Okay, before we wrap this up, we have to look at the outliers, the tracks that defy easy classification but reveal these surprising cultural trends. I'm thinking of Christmas Island.
By Bob Atcher and the Dinning Sisters, yeah. And Michelle Evil Gal Wilson's 5-Pound Box of Money.
Christmas Island from 1946 is so fascinating because it captures a very specific post-war trend.
A consumer trend. After WWII, there was this massive wave of interest in tropical travel, often fueled by servicemen returning from the Pacific.
So this track helped popularize that whole exotica and Hawaiian Christmas sound.
It really did. It's the sound of escapism, a sunny contrast to the cold and snow we associate with the holidays. It suggests that our desire for holiday music was evolving to include aspirational travel.
It's a snapshot of a booming post-war economy.
And a national desire for novelty. Plus, there's that little family connection in the trivia. The Dinning sisters were siblings of Mark Dinning,
Who sang Teen Angel, the famous tragedy hit.
Yeah, it just shows you how intertwined all these artists were in that mid-century pop landscape. A small world.
It really was. Okay, let's wrap up with a final piece of surprising trivia from the mix, Ella Fitzgerald's beautiful rendition of What Are You Doing New Year's Eve?
A song many people think of as the ultimate end-of-year standard.
A reflective song.
Right. It is reflective, but it holds this crucial detail about the writer's intent. Because the songwriter, Frank Loesser, had a very specific, almost technical intention when he wrote it.
He designed it as an advanced song.
Exactly. It's not actually about the night of New Year's Eve itself or the reflection that comes after. It's entirely about the anticipation leading up to that moment.
The hope, the planning.
The yearning for that specific transition. The song is built around possibility, not reality. It's about a future moment, not a present one.
That is a profound detail. It completely changes the emotional register of the song once you know it. It's looking forward, full of hope, instead of looking back with memory.
It really does.
So what does this entire Chuxmas mix mean when we listen to it not as just a collection of songs, but as one whole piece?
It means you shouldn't listen to this mix as simple background noise. You just can't. It is a dense, condensed musical timeline.
So by listening sequentially,
you see exactly how huge cultural shifts, from post-war optimism in cool swing to the travel craze, the energy of jump blues, and the profound social anxieties of the Vietnam era in deep soul, were immediately absorbed and reflected in the sounds we listen to every single December.
So the key takeaway for you listening at home is just how much variety and history are packed into what often feels like a predictable set of classic tunes.
Totally predictable.
You've got the cool, almost untouchable vocals of Peggy Lee, the powerful, raw saxophones of the jump blues era, and the emotional resonance of Stax soul, all existing side by side. These tracks aren't just seasonal filler. They are musical bridges built across decades of American culture.
And maybe the most important thing we extracted is the redefinition of holiday itself. We learned that William Bell in 1967 defined the holiday as the feeling of being with loved ones.
Emphasizing that personal, emotional connection.
Yes. And Frank Loesser, decades earlier, defined New Year's not by the event, but by the feeling of anticipation, that hopeful yearning for what's to come.
Which raises a really important question for you, the listener, to consider next time you hear one of these classics. How much of the holiday soundtrack we cherish is truly about the actual day, December 25th or January 1st? And how much of it is actually about the powerful, complicated feelings, the love, the homecoming, the hope, the anticipation, the longing that surround that date? Dive back into that mix and listen for what the feeling truly is.